Paradise lost. People do not mostly cherish what they have until they lose it. This is no truer in our personal lives than in the quest for power, wealth, knowledge, and freedom. How did Satan manage to deceive a third of the angels who were with him in heaven and knew all about God and his power? Why follow Lucifer and suffer eternally when they could have left him to reap his own fruits? The decisions we make in our quest for happiness and self-fulfillment can either make or break us. Have you ever asked yourself how Satan was able to deceive angels who were with him in heaven? Just take a minute or two and reflect on it. These were angels who were with Satan in heaven. They saw God daily, experienced his love and goodness, and knew how heaven felt like. They saw the beauty of heaven, its peace, landscape, and order. They knew about the power of God, yet they chose to follow Satan and share his lot in being cast away from heaven into darkness and misery. Think deeply about it. These were not weak, stupid beings. These were bright, intelligent, and able beings. Although Satan was their leader, they were not ignorant of who God was. Yet, they decided to follow Satan and turn against their Creator, against all the odds. When Satan started talking to them, I am sure he had a strategy. I am certain that these angels had a chance to also ask questions from God or the other angels. I'm sure they compared and contrasted what they heard from Satan and what they heard from God and the other angels. I am sure there was a long process that took several months, if not years, to try to correct them and Satan of their wrong position. Yet, they were still convinced or convinced themselves that Satan had a point in his arguments and joined his rebellion. I rather find it interesting that after their rebellion and overthrow from heaven, they are still working with Satan and sympathetic to his cause. I find it interesting that they are not angry enough at him, but are rather angry at God for throwing them away from heaven. Instead of blaming Satan for their woes, they blame God for it. And with this anger, they cause destruction, suffering, and misery to mankind. As one author puts it in the book called Patriarchs and Prophets, Satan told these angels that if they followed him, they would have freedom from all the rules and regulations in heaven. Although these angels never complained about their state or circumstances, he presented them with a better picture of what life would be if only they followed him to rebel and did as he told them. He promised what he could not deliver. He deceived them with lies. Before you even start to look down on or curse these angels for their poor decisions, remember Adam and Eve, beautiful and innocent, surrounded by all the best there was in the beautiful garden and the paradise. Adam and Eve talked and walked with God and were told of all that they needed, including the tree of knowledge of good and evil. They lacked nothing, yet Satan told Eve that she lacked something, wisdom and knowledge that would make her equal to and even better than God. He promised what he could not deliver. He also believed him, and with her husband, lost everything they had in that paradise, introducing death and sin into a young earth. What made Satan successful in both heaven and earth? Politics, as we know it today, started with Satan in heaven. Satan wanted power, something he did not have but craved. In order to get this power, he had to demonize the one who had it, draw the sympathies of the people towards him instead of to the powerful being, and make himself a victim of injustice so as to gain entrenched sympathy and cultivate hatred towards the oppressor. He misrepresented the character of God, to the angels and Adam and Eve. He cast doubt into the minds of his hearers and told them that God hated them by withholding certain knowledge and material benefits from them. That should they believe in him and follow him, they will become better than their current state. He portrayed himself as wise and knowledgeable, a friend and benefactor who has the interest of his hearers at heart. He makes his listeners believe they are disadvantaged and maltreated and presents himself as a freedom fighter, someone bent on securing the freedoms and progress of his hearers. Through such deceptive means, he tries to secure the sympathy and cooperation of his listeners. This is politics. Anything to secure power is right. This is Niccolo Machiavelli's philosophy from The Prince on the Art of Power. This is just what happened in communist states. They promised the people greater economic freedoms and prosperity, but ended up taking away all their freedoms and making them their perpetual slaves. This is what happens in modern democracies, where the parties promise greater advancements but cause greater retrogression. Vladimir Lenin craved power and influence. Returning from Europe to Russia, he helped foment trouble and disaffection against the ruling class. He promised economic freedom and prosperity to the millions of hungry and starving workers and farmers in Russia. They believed in him and followed him, overthrowing their king and making him their leader. He ended up killing his political opponents and placing the nation under absolute rule and slavery. People could not even voice out dissenting opinions or worship God as they pleased. Mao Zedong of China, also known as Chairman Mao, used deception to win over the peasants of China, and with that support, he was able to seize power. He immediately set about to crush all opponents, breaking down the historical buildings and figures and making himself the god of the people. He followed closely in the footsteps of Vladimir Lenin, suppressing his people and taking away their freedoms. When the French Revolution started, it was to liberate the people and give them freedom. Yet, it only resulted in more deaths and bloodshed. Everyone became suspicious of the other, and people falsely accused each other to escape death themselves. That was a reign of terror. The experience of the angels and Adam and Eve are similar. So are they similar to the experience that we are going through presently and the politicians and Satan himself? Politicians promise us heaven but deliver hell. They speak all sweet and convincing when they are in opposition, directing skepticism, hatred, jealousy, anger, and every evil towards their counterparts in power. They prey on the ignorance and vulnerability of the masses to gain their sympathies. They identify with the masses and tell them how those in power are taking advantage of them and cheating them. They paint those in power black and make themselves liberators of the people. They will do anything for the power until they get it and mess up with it, churning out excuses and theories. Do not let politics fool you. It is a game and an emotional play on your senses. It is Satan's masterpiece. That is why politicians master the game of lying and acting. They join secret societies, speak to spirits, and swear fealty to Satan for power and influence. They exchange their soul for the temporal glory of power. Satan told Jesus, "All these things will I give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me." Matthew 4, verse 9. Do not let education and so-called high learning and philosophy fool you. They will tell you there is no God and that believing in him is selling your freedom to religion. They will destroy your morality and faith, making you do as you want to please your carnal nature. They offer you freedom from all moral restrictions until you learn too soon and too late that there is no peace in this life without guardrails and laws to stop you from destroying yourself. The Jews thought they were saving their nation by rejecting Christ, but they were destroying it. After chasing away the disciples and later fighting the Romans to leave Jerusalem, they turned on each other until the Romans came back to take their city and burn it to the ground. The current immoral state of the world, seen in perverse dress, nudities, pornography, sexualization of children, violence, alcoholism, drug abuse, etc., is a result of the so-called freedom promised us. Has that freedom made the world better and safer? The jury is out.